Anytime you're ready.
All right. Hello. Welcome to the internship workshop, the first installment of the ACM Career Series. It used to be that if you had an internship, you were way ahead of the competition when looking for a job. But it's becoming more and more necessary to get an internship just to be competitive. This is why it's so important for you guys to know how to get an internship, why to get an internship, and how to be successful in one. And there's no better person to talk about this than Dr. Pickens. Dr. Pickens has worked at 2 large companies with 50,000 employees and 5 Silicon Valley startups. He has personally hired over 100 engineers in 6 different countries and successfully developed several successful internship programs. So, with that said, here's Dr. Pickens.
So we had, I'm teaching the senior seminar, for those of you who aren't in the senior seminar, and we had Rackspace here last week talking to the class, talking about what they feel is most important, what's going to help you get a job. And they absolutely said, number 1, internships, experience. So that's why the internships are important. We've got CGI coming tomorrow or Thursday to talk to the class, and I fully expect them to say the same thing. Internships is the number 1 thing that you can do to improve your marketability, improve your ability to get a job. So what I want to talk to you about today is just share some of my experiences. This isn't going to be very long. I want to talk to you about what the company gets out of an internship. So why would a company want to give you an internship? And then I want to talk about what you get out of an internship, and it's probably not what you think it is. We can talk about some example internship programs, things that I've done where I've hired students and the kind of work that they did. We can talk about what companies look for in hiring an intern. And then I want to show you 2 websites so you can get some more information about where to get started with internships. So number 1, what does a company get out of this internship? Just had some students out in the hall asking me, as a freshman, so after my freshman year as a rising sophomore, am I likely to get an internship in the IT field? The answer is no. You're probably not going to get it at the end of your freshman year. But at the end of your sophomore year and end of your junior year, yeah. Once you've finished up iTech 220 CS2, you're pretty well qualified for an internship. You're able to do some things. So what's the company going to get out of it? They've got somebody who's finished CS2, you can program, you have some basic understanding of IT. They're going to give you pretty mundane jobs. They're going to give you jobs like testing that their developers don't really want to do. Important jobs, things that the company needs done, but clearly not mission critical kinds of things for you to do. So by hiring an intern, I'm going to be able to offload my full-time permanent employees to do more important things, more creative things, because they have more experience and they're in a better position to contribute than you are, but there's still a lot of things that need to be done that are technical. If you find yourself in an internship where you're filing documents and getting coffee and things for people, that's not a good internship. You should quit right away. You're basically wasting your time. What you want out of an internship is you want to get some experience in the field. It's not going to be great experience, but it's going to be some experience. And you want to get a reference. More than anything else, you want a reference saying, hey, this person worked for me and they were good. I would hire this person. The other thing that a company is going to get out of creating an internship program is a recruiting pipeline. So if I can have you in my office for a summer and you get to know my team, you get to know my products and my systems and how we do things, you're trained. That's time that I don't have to spend training you if I hired you. And if you enjoy the position and you enjoy the company and I can convince you to come take a permanent job, I've just recruited a very good employee. So how many of you would buy a car without taking it for a test drive? Nobody? Well, an internship for an employer is basically a test drive. I get to try you before I buy it. And it means that I'm going to bring in a higher caliber of employee at the start. Somebody who's trained, somebody that I already know, somebody that I trust. So that's the things that the company's going to get out of it. What you're going to get out of it as a student is you're going to get valuable experience, but not the experience that you think you're going to get. Yes, you're going to hopefully be doing something technical, something related to the field that you're going to do, but probably nothing that you would do once you become a full-time employee. So what kind of experience am I talking about? When you start with a new company, and even in a lot of cases when you start a new position, You're what we call a dependent non-contributor. What that means is you don't know what you're doing. You don't have any experience. You don't have accounts. You probably don't have your environment set up. You don't have a lot of things. You're not in a position to start contributing to the company. And why did the company hire you? They hired you because you're going to contribute to the company. You're going to give them more than they're giving you in terms of that salary. So that's what they're looking for. After you get over that dependent non-contributor hurdle, you become what we call an independent contributor. You're working on your own, you're contributing, you're helping the company to grow, to succeed. That's where we want you, right? We don't want dependent non-contributors. If you've had an internship, the period of time that you will spend in the dependent non-contributor phase is much shorter. Your learning curve to get to the independent contributor is much shorter because you've already had some experience. You know what to expect. You know what's expected of you working in a company. If you have not worked in a technology field in a company, you really have no idea what that's going to be like. So who's going to be more valuable to me as a hiring manager? Somebody who hasn't done an internship, who has no clue what it's going to be like to come work for my company, or somebody who's done an internship somewhere in the IT field who understands what they're getting into. This person I might hire this person and 2 months later they come to me and go, you know what, this isn't at all what I thought it was going to be. It's not what I want to do. I'm quitting. Now I've invested a lot of time and money in somebody for 2 months and I've lost that. So if I've got somebody who's already got some internship experience, I know that they know what they're getting into. I know that they're going to be happy here. That's a good hire. Okay, so you're going to get valuable experience, hopefully something related to the field that you're going into. More importantly, you're just going to get work experience. And number one thing that you want out of this is a reference. Even if you don't go to work for that company, you want somebody at that company to be willing to step up on a call and say, this was a great person, I would hire this person. That's worth its weight in gold. Now, what kinds of things are you going to do to get an internship? There's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that you have done that helps me as a hiring manager to pick Joel over Dan or Dan over Joel. Basically what I'm going to look at is GPA. Now, I don't put a lot of stock in GPA, so I'm not necessarily going to rank everybody by GPA and take whoever's got the highest GPA. I wouldn't do that, but I'm going to have some cutoff. I'm probably going to say something like 3.0 or higher. Is there anybody here who's familiar with ALTES? Nobody knows ALTES? All right. ALTES is the Army Acquisitions, Logistics, Enterprise, Services, and Systems for the Army. So they do all the acquisitions. And they're right over here at the Radford Armory. You guys all know where the Radford Armory is? About 10 or 15 minutes away? All right. Now, I was very fortunate when I started here at Radford University because the October after I started, Dr. Chase and a couple other people and myself were invited to tour ALTES. And when you first get to the Radford Armory, there's armed guards there. This is an Army installation. And if you had a cell phone, you had to turn your cell phone in because there's no pictures after that checkpoint. So they took your driver's license, they knew exactly who you were, they took any kind of cameras or anything, and they put you back in your car and you drove about 2 miles to the ALTES building. It's a bunker. You got there and you went through another checkpoint. You had a badge that allowed you to be inside the armory. So you had to turn that badge in. You got another badge that was going to let you go into ALTES, into the building. And an escort came out. And that escort had to be with you the entire time you were in that building. And the first thing you did when you walked in that building is you went down 60 feet. So this operation is 60 feet below ground. Now, why do you think they would have that 60 feet below ground?
Presumably for resisting armed attack.
Resisting attacks, resisting a bombing. Now, when we got all done touring this facility, there were 2 things that were of great interest to me. The first thing was they had this cabinet, and the cabinet was just a little bit taller than I am, and it was a box about that wide, maybe 2.5 feet square. It was a SAN. Who can tell me what SAN is? What does SAN stand for? Storage Area Network. That SAN, when fully configured, fully decked out, could hold 256 petabytes of data. Now, why would an Army installation in the middle of nowhere need a SAN that could store 256 petabytes of data? What was going on? What are they doing? every night that organization backs up the Pentagon. If the Pentagon gets attacked and they can no longer run the country from the Pentagon, they can run the country from 10 miles away from it. And they're 60 feet down because if the Pentagon gets bombed, they might get bombed, and they need to be able to resist bombs. So they're 60 feet down. Now, the other thing that was of interest to me is they had these huge, big power generators. I'm talking about a room about twice this size with huge, big power generators, 3-4 times as tall as I was. And I asked our tuber guide, I said, how long can you guys survive without any food, water, gasoline, any connection with the outside world? How long can you go? And he told me 30 days. Now, if he was willing to tell me 30 days, how long do you think they can really go without any connection to the outside world? I'm guessing it's somewhere between 90 and 120 days. They can close up shop, they can close everything off, and they can run in there with food, oxygen, power. For 120 days, they can run the government from there completely bunkered down. Now, does that sound like a cool place to work? Doing all kinds of fun IT stuff, you're getting a security clearance, you're working for the government, it's a pretty cool place to work. Guess what their minimum GPA requirement is? 3.0. If you have less than a 3.0, don't even bother applying. So that's the kind of thing that you can expect as an intern. They're going to look at your GPA and they're going to say it is or it isn't above this minimum. That's about all I care about in terms of GPA. I don't care if you've got a 3.8 or a 3.1. If you're above 3.0, that's good. So GPA is going to help you do a little bit of filtering. What else am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for personality. I want to make sure you're going to fit with the team. I mean, if talking to you is like talking to a brick wall, I'm probably not going to hire you. I'm looking for work ethic. Are you a hard worker? I'm going to hire you for an internship. This is a very important, coveted position. I'm going to hire you. I want to make sure you got a strong work ethic. And I'm also going to look for passion. Are you passionate about IT? Is this just a job to you, or is this something you really want to do? Because you know what? I've got about 20 or 25 candidates for maybe 2 positions. So I get to be pretty choosy, right? I get to be pretty picky. I get to set a minimum GPA. I get to look to see if you're going to fit in personality-wise, if you're a hard worker, and I get to pick the 2 people that meet all those requirements that are most passionate. Who can tell me what is the #1 thing that you can have that will help you get an internship, or any other position for that matter? The #1 thing as a student.
Confident.
No. You're too confident. What else? What else can we have? The #1 asset that you can have. A reference. Where do you get a reference? Where would you get a reference? Maybe a past employer? Okay. Who do you think is in a position to give you the best reference? Chloe, who would give you the best reference?
Me personally?
Yeah. Who? Just a student in general, or you personally? Who would give you the best reference? What kind of person?
I had internships last summer. I called them.
So if you had an internship and you have a reference, that's the #1 thing you want from an internship, right? What if you haven't had an internship? Where would you get a reference from?
Job.
Yes, the professor. Now, what do you want that professor to say? Oh, Johnny, hang on a second. Comes in late. Oh yeah, Johnny took that class I taught 3 years ago, and yes, see. What else can I tell you? No, that's not what you want. What can you tell me about Johnny? Oh, Johnny, man, let me tell you about Johnny. He's one of the best students we have. I worked with Johnny on a couple projects. Johnny was great, man. He's a hard worker, blah, 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 and we did this and we did that. What kind of position are you? Testing? Oh, yeah, he knows how to test. He did a lot of testing for me. He'd be wonderful. Now, how do you get a relationship like that with your professor? Office hours. Yeah, you go to office hours. You get to know him. We don't bite. You do something with them. You do something positive that's going to make you memorable. Okay? Keyword on positive. So that's what you should all be doing. When you graduate from here, you're going to need references. And if you graduate from here and you go to apply for a job and you don't have a single professor on your list of references, what's that going to tell the employer? I must not have done very good in school because none of my professors will recommend me. That's not a good thing. A lot of times it's not about what you have, it's about what you don't have. You're one class away from a math major, and you don't, I'm sorry, a math minor, and you don't have the math minor. Why? I didn't want to take that math class. That tells me a lot more about you than what you did. So be thinking about that. Make sure that when you graduate, you're going to have a reference. And right now, if you're thinking about an internship for the summer, you've got 2 semesters to convince a professor that you are somebody they want to recommend. Get to know your professor. Do a project with them. Who can tell me what an independent study is? Nobody knows what an independent study is? Oh, it's a 1998. Oh, yeah. All right. It's 1 to 6 credit hours where you write up a proposal that I want to work with a professor and I want to study this, something that interests you. And you find a professor that would like be interested in that project, and you write up a proposal and the curriculum committee approves it, and you get 1 to 6 credit hours for doing that work with your professor. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, you get to investigate something that you're interested in. You get to meet with your professor for at least an hour, one-on-one, for every week of the semester. You get to know your professor gets to know you. You do something really cool, you've got a great reference. What's 1 credit hour? It's nothing. So do a 1 credit hour independent study with a professor in the spring, and you've got a reference now that's going to help you get that internship. So these are the kinds of things that you need to be thinking about. If you're thinking you want to do an internship in the summer, this summer, next summer, be thinking about all the things that you need to line up. I got to get my GPA above 3.0, got to get a reference from a professor, got to get prepared. Now, what kinds of things have I had interns do? Well, interns tend to do a lot of testing. Let me tell you a story. I have a student who was in my CS1 class last spring. And I got a call from the recruiter over at CCS in Christiansburg, one of the top technology companies in the area. And she said, we're looking for interns to do software testing. And they hired this particular student, and they absolutely loved her, and they did not want to let her go back to school. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you want. If she decides that she wants to work for CCS, do you think they'll make her an offer? They're ready to make an offer. They made her an offer. She turned them down. She said, no, I need to finish school. If she decides to go somewhere else, do you think she has a reference? Yeah, they're good people. If somebody calls up and asks about this particular student, they're going to have glowing things to say about her. So what did she do? Well, she did testing. Not the most glamorous thing in the world. She wrote a lot of test cases. Why did they love her so much? Because she thought outside the box. Because she came up with ways to test their product that they had never thought about. So it wasn't the most glamorous work, but she got a lot of great experience out of that. She learned how to test, and the better tester you are, the better programmer you will be. Now, I worked at a company called Web Unwired, and what we did is basically, this was back in 2000, and we were one of the very first companies helping companies to put their websites on mobile phones and PDAs. Basically what that meant is you've got this HTML files, HTML data files, and you're accessing that data with HTTP. But we need, the wireless devices are not using HTTP, they're using WAP, the Wireless Access Protocol. And they don't display HTML, they display WML. So somebody needed to do a conversion. We needed to be a reverse proxy. We took that request, we made the request using HTTP, we got the HTML file, we transformed the HTML file into WML, and we pushed it out to the phone. So what that required was, it required a lot of GUI testing, push a lot of buttons, do a lot of things, make sure you can transform this page, make sure this page is working, go surf the internet. So at that point, we probably had about 20 or 30 customers because we were selling this product through Cisco. And we said, go to their website and just test. Find pages that don't work and just jot down the pages that don't work. Not very exciting work, but fun. You get to walk around with the latest and greatest iPhone. The company bought me an iPhone, and I'm doing all of this stuff, and I'm testing. And no matter where I go, no matter what time of day it is, I can be testing. Cha-ching, cha-ching. All right, you're getting good experience. And at the end of the day, you're getting a nice reference. So those are kinds of things. A lot of testing, a lot of stuff. Again, not filing, right? You're not filing papers in a cabinet. You're not going to get coffee. You're testing. You're doing something valuable. Something that my developers are going to have to do if I don't hire you. And I don't want to pay them what I'm paying them to do that kind of stuff. They're not going to be excited about it. You guys might actually get excited about it. So those are the kinds of jobs that you're going to get. Okay, so any questions? Okay, internships are important. That's what helps you get a job. And the number one thing you want to get an internship is a reference, and the number one thing that you want out of a reference, out of an internship, is a reference. Now I want to show you two things quickly. This is our career services website. This is the front page. Right here you see all the events coming up. So they had their career fest, they had their experience business casually. Later this week they've got their graduate school fair, then they've got volunteer and service fair coming up next week. Or is that later this? No, I'm sorry, yesterday was the graduate school fair. I'm a week off, and this Thursday is their volunteer and service fair. So you can go here and you can be looking for that. But the thing that I want to point out to you is they've got a lot of tools and applications here that you can register. And I guess you register for each one of these. But basically, you can go into Hire a Highlander, and Hire a Highlander is going to tell you what companies are coming on campus to do recruiting. And through this system, you can post a resume online and you can request an interview. So that's something you should get to know. We have this internships.com, and I think later today after the workshop, they're going to show you how to use that. We've also got this is kind of neat, this Focus. The Focus application is going to ask you some questions, and it's going to tell you, based on your answers, this is the kind of job that you would probably enjoy. And then it's going to give you a list of jobs that match what it is that they're recommending for you. So a good thing to go take a look at it. You might want to do something completely different, but you might get some good ideas. So there's a whole bunch. There's Optimal Resume here where you can build a resume and you can build an online portfolio. There's a whole bunch of tools here for you. You can go over to the Career Services Center over in Walker Hall, and they'll take you through this and they'll show you how to use all of these things. But you guys, if you're iTech, you'll figure it out on your own. Now the other thing I want to point out is our department website. This is the website for the iTech department. This is something that we maintain. And if you come over here to students, and you come down here to student jobs, you'll see all of the jobs that we know of. So here's a job that was posted on August 24th. If we have internships or we have other jobs that we know about, we get them all posted here for you. So you go to Hire a Highlander, you're going to find out about jobs. If you come look here, you're going to find out about jobs. So get on the internship, follow Hire a Highlander, find out who's coming here. I'll also point out here that you've got job interview tips. There's presentations and different things out here that you can look at that are going to help you to build a resume. There's a bunch of other things out here for students. So lots of there's career fairs and things. So there's lots of ways online to find out what's going on here to help you get an internship or a job. Any questions? All right, good luck. If you have any questions in the future, I'd be happy to talk with you.
All right, so now we're going to do the panelists come up. We're going to have the panel. The way this is going to work is I will basically interview them for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll go to any questions you guys have for them. All right? So you guys can introduce yourselves and where you've interned.
I'm Andrew Melton. I interned at Rackspace Hosting over in Plattsburgh. I worked on the cloud computing team, working on Java code.
My name is Joel Dominic. I did an internship at IBM in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I worked on a project that dealt with server configurations.
My name is Austin Finney. I did an internship research thing with the University of Virginia, working with Professor David Evans, and actually presented at 2 different conferences, the research I was doing.
Cool. So next question is, what was different in your internship than what you expected?
The whole experience, or just the job part?
The whole thing.
I thought, I don't know, there was something like weirdly intrinsic. It felt like so real world. Like here, it's like you kind of like have your financial aid office, and there's some intermediary for it. With the internship, like you get a paycheck, you pay your rent, and you live in some apartment somewhere. You know, and at least that's how it was for me. And it was very good experience.
So the real world, like,
yeah,
it's different.
Yeah, it's definitely like real world hit you in the face.
Okay. For me, when I first got to the job, the day I started, I was basically told, your entire team is going back to India in 3 weeks. Learn as much as you can. So that was quite a ramp up to speed. So that was very good.
Yeah, just the freedom involved. Like, because when I got there, they're like, yeah, you just have to sort of like show up at some point between 9 to 5, but you can work whatever hours you want. You can come in at like 2 o'clock in the morning, as long as you're getting the 40 hours in a week, getting work done. But he wasn't complaining.
Mine was about the same as that too. It was very very
Cool. So what was your typical day like? And these are all over the summer, right?
yeah.
So the typical day was just sort of like a 9 to 5 job. You get up in the morning, get up at like 8:30, shower, put clothes on. Dress is pretty casual. Like you didn't really have to like, I mean, you might have this preconception in your mind that IBM's like a suit and tie, but they're actually kind of performing now. You can sort of just go in a t-shirt and jeans, it's fine. And just go to work in the morning, start working. There'd usually be a meeting at some point in the morning. Meeting lasts 30 minutes, an hour. You get out of the meeting, get some more work done before lunch. Lunch would be another hour or so. Then after lunch, more work, more meetings, interspersed, trying to get the work done in between the meetings. You'll find that when you do start either like an internship or a job, meetings are sort of like your enemy. Meetings keep you from getting work done, and it is very frustrating because usually nothing happens at meetings, generally, and it's just you sitting there listening to somebody else talk about something and keeping you from doing the work that needs to get done.
Actually, I'm going to take the opposite stance that Keith has on meetings. I think meetings are really important. I enjoy meetings, so I thought that was really cool because when you go into meetings, it's like with your teams. But that's my biggest thing that I don't like about working in like student teams is you'll meet like once a week when you have some action. Like if it's a really good team, you won't find this very often. You'll have like some action list that needs to get done or action items that need to get done by the next meeting. Chances are none of that's going to get done on a student team. So this idea of rapid, frequent meetings, and you have action items, and you're keeping, frequent tabs on them. I think it's a good thing.
For me, meetings, it was sort of a combination of both of that actually. We used a development process called Scrum, which is agile. One of the things we do are stand-ups, and what they are is basically you're not supposed to sit down. It's supposed to be a very quick meeting, and you just, in 15 minutes, the whole team has to cover what they're doing or what they did the day before, what they're doing today, and then that's it. That's your meeting. We had those every day. At least in the beginning, before my team went back to India, it transferred over to email, Skype, and like once a week, sort of. But I had a combination of very effective meetings and not so effective meetings that lasted like an hour and 30 minutes. They were all over Skype. Some of them were at like 10 at night, trying to get the guys in India to be on and the team in San Antonio on, and those were just like, all right, so I'm going to send out an email later, and then you can contribute to that after an hour and 30 minutes of doing chat shit. So that's how meetings can sometimes go.
I agree with the, some of them are really productive, like stand-ups, very nice. But if you get invited to a meeting that you really shouldn't be at, it's the end. So, what skills have you guys developed because of your internships?
I mean, for me, it was like, I think there's a large thing to be said about like just the independence of doing things on your own. But I think it's not so much the skills you have developed, it's the ability to develop skills you're lacking. And it's that sort of like tempering and refinement that like, that's what the internship is.
And it's also sort of learning how to communicate with people, sort of like knowing what to say when, it's the right time to say something.
Actually, software engineering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of social engineering. But yeah, that's really important. Just being able to, communication is key, because that's sort of what helps you get further along in your job. Like if you just sit there and don't do anything, just get your work done, you'll get your work done and you'll probably get good reviews, but you won't go anywhere. You'll just keep doing that same thing over and over again.
Any tips on how to get better at that?
just speak up, just ask questions. Ask as many questions as you
That is
can.
very important. That shows that you're interested or that you want to learn more about something.
And it might seem like trivial, but you don't even have to talk about work. At some points, in my job, there were like downtimes when I wouldn't have a whole lot to work on because my team knew it was awesome and quick. So one of the other developers at Rackspace would always, I'd be like, stuff's broken, fix it. What the hell? So I'd like fix it, and I'd chat with him about like stupid shit, and that's what it helps your communication, and it like you sort of like connect with the company. And that's really what you want to try and do. You want to interact with as many people as you possibly can.
And that's another thing, like if you're working in a company and they don't have tools to allow you to freely collaborate with other people in the company, that's usually not a really good company. Like for example, at IBM, they have a message, like an instant messenger, that you can literally communicate with anybody in the company. Like if you wanted to instant message the CEO, you could do that. You'd probably get yelled at, or it'd probably be secretary answering it, but you can do that.
In Rackspace, we actually use a combination of Chatter, Skype, and IRC. In IRC, basically, what I would do, like I'd be on IRC all day, and then something would break, and I wouldn't know how to fix it, so I'd hop on the ops chat and be like, stuff's broken, crap. And that's sort of how we talk. It's just very personable. I wouldn't say it's not professional, but it's less.
It's not rigid.
Yeah, it's not rigid professional. You can curse a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, another thing about communication is, there's those times like, do I need to be like professional? Do I need to stick to work right now? Or can I talk freely? And that was sort of a struggle with me. Is like, so I'm at lunch. I literally asked, can I talk about work at lunch? Is that something we don't do? Apparently it's okay, but so those things, I learned a bunch of those things. So what do you think? How do you think your internship benefited you the most?
One thing that really happened in my internship that sort of showed me sort of how strong I was as like a developer or as someone in the industry. 1 week, I wasn't like aware that I was going to be the only person that the entire company could contact when this thing broke. And the product that I worked on, we had just released it into what's called US staging, the staging and testing environment that basically the entire company uses for this product. It broke, and I had to fix it. My team in India, they were sick. Like, it was just, I get an email, oh, I'm still sick. I just, crap, what do I do? My boss was out, so I couldn't talk to him. He was in Oregon, I think. So what I ended up having to do, and it really showed me, what you have to do is you just communicate. You email whoever you need to, and one of the great things about Rackspace is everybody's just so willing to help. You tell them something's broke, look at this, and they will look at it and be able to stop whatever they're doing, and they'll look at it. So I'd say communication is one of the biggest things that I learned. Communication and testing. With testing, you'll learn along the way.
I'd say that sort of was also one of the benefits that I got. And also that reference that Dr. Pincus was talking about, that is really key. Like getting another person out there that has like real world experience to know your name and knows that you did a good job, that is invaluable.
Absolutely right. Like that's the two things I really agree with Nicholas on. Towards the reference, like the reference is beyond important, and to have a reference, especially if you're interested in grad school, to have that research reference from like Dave Evans, that's phenomenal. Like, as a lot of you know, I might not be the best student in the world, but he's talking about referencing like Carnegie Mellon University. For those of you who don't know, that's like the top computer science school in the nation, like first degree. So yeah, it's really good, and the reference is just God tier. And the passion too. You mentioned passion, and I think that like just being there, like doing real world stuff, it's completely different. Like here at school, if you miss an assignment, it's like, okay, I can make it up or something, or whatever. But like when you have a deadline, like, oh, I need to write this research proposal that's due for this conference, and if we miss it, I let my entire team know. It's just this different sort of like, real stuff, man. It's like right there.
The pressures are real. Like there's no non-option. Like you have to do what needs to be done.
Right, and I think you just get a done attitude, and like how Andrew was saying, he sent emails to who needed to be sent the emails, and that's the thing I think a lot of like, I don't know, like a lot of the passion's lost here in university academia level because it's like, oh well, I can get it done tomorrow, or oh it's just one grade I can pick up on, you know, for the rest of the semester. But like that, when you are actually letting people down, like real people, you know what I'm saying?
That's,
But,
Professors aren't real.
yeah. But yeah, so I think it's phenomenal.
Well, if you guys had one piece of advice for somebody entering an internship, what would you tell them?
Have fun. I mean, when you start an internship, they know that you're not like how Dr. Chris was saying, you're a dependent non-contributor. They aren't expecting you to be able to just jump in and do everything. Just have fun, learn as much as you can, and ask as many questions as you can.
It's like the ultimate like low risk, high reward like situation. You know, there's absolutely no risk involved for you because they don't expect you to know what you're doing, like you said. And I just hopped in there, and it's just this awesome experience. Just to socialize, I would say, not like socialize, but network. It's probably a better word. Like there were so many lunches where I went to with my professors, with my colleagues, and stuff like that, and we just sat around and drank and watched the like Women's World Cup soccer game or whatever. And that's just so key because it shows them you're like a real person. And if you can like connect with them on that level and really show that you have what it takes to work in the industry, I think that's the best combination. And all of that's like just shows your passion. So
It's almost like that's where you want to be in life.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to be there? Drinking beer with professors, you make like a lot of money. Yeah, like that's where you want to be.
Yeah, talk, hang out with people, because you don't sort of realize this, but once you get out of college, you sort of lose your opportunity to hang out with people that are your age. Like once you graduate, like you're gonna start, like you're gonna have your boss who's like at least 10 years older than you, and then you're gonna have your coworkers who are also like despairingly like age difference, like 5 years, 8 years. So like sort of take the opportunity, because if you're in an internship, there's gonna be other people your age. So take your chance, like hang out with them, get to know them, still like communicate with them after the internship. It's invaluable.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add, like they mentioned, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing a lot of the time, and you don't know how to do what you're supposed to be doing. So really asking those questions is super important. And if you're scared to ask those questions, you may never find the answers you need. So,
And what I think is really cool is when you ask anybody like a professional a question, they'll like explain to you their thought process, and just seeing how somebody outside of academia looks at a problem and how they go about solving it, it's cool. It's all here. It's sort of amazing.
Like that one thing too. I think that a lot of people aren't as genuine as they could be. Like with the interview process, to get the internships, to get out there and stuff like that. So like when he said, one thing that really struck me is, I don't really agree with it, it's kind of your introduction, is that you need an internship to be competitive now. I think it helps you so much. But honestly, I went to some of the top conferences, in computer security. I'm easily convinced only 10% of people in the industry really deserve their place there. I think that if you're at this meeting, you're well on your way to being competitive enough. And that's the big thing. It's like interviewers can see right through you if you're not genuine in the interview process, or just in general at work, If you try to put on this facade like I'm super serious, because me, I'm really laid back, I'm a little bit loose with my mouth and stuff like that. I make no effort to hide that from my coworkers. And I shouldn't, because at the end of the day, I'm just going to do this false Austin that isn't me and won't do the real work,
That's a good point, because if you go into an interview and you manage to fake your way through it and get the job, you're not going to be happy there. They're not going to be happy with you. Just be yourself. If you're passionate, if you're willing to learn, you're going to get the job you want. You guys have anything off the cuff you want to add?
Actually, I should show this picture.
Well, we don't drink beer anymore. It was just in the break room. Yeah. Well, one thing to mention, me and Andrew both work at Traxxas. There's I don't know other companies, but I'm sure, I mean, we had happy hours, and we were playing dodgeball in the room too.
Yeah, we have
The ball flew off.
at Rackspace basically took over half of the university mall in Plattsburgh, and an entire storefront is dedicated to paintball. And you can just get up, say to the person across from you, paintball, get up, go play paintball for like 30 minutes. Nobody cares as long as you're getting your work done. So.
Yeah, they have that idea too. They have like their break rooms, and the break rooms all like football tables, pool tables, ping pong tables. You can just, like, if you get bored with work, say like, hey, you want to go play some foosball? And that's what we do. We actually probably spend at least 5-6 hours a week playing foosball. Like, no lie.
We also had a Wii set up in ours, and his team was really into Mario Kart. Like every day at like 4 o'clock, it's all get up and go and play Mario Kart. So
It's time. We all knew.
I think that sounds like that number, like 5 to 6 hours of playing foosball, but in reality, like, it's crazy. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, your productivity is so bad, and like in the cubicle world of office space, it's like the amount of productivity anyways without taking those breaks is so abysmal that I think employers are now starting to see we need really happy employees, and that's why like the being genuine and being yourself is so important, because if you're not happy, you're not going to be working. I can say that personally.
Exactly. You're way more productive if you have things to do and you have that downtime and you have freedom, as opposed to, deadline. Nobody can work 8 straight hours every single day. It's just not going to happen. And companies are realizing this, and that's why they're break rooms. Awesome. So, work is not, it's not like, oh, well, if I do an internship, I'm going to have a horrible summer. My summer vacation's gone. Like, I know I enjoyed learning all that stuff I learned, and, meeting all my teammates, and they're really cool guys, and playing games with them and stuff. So, don't let that scare you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Be confident. Like Austin said at the beginning, like joking, but actually, confidence is really important. Like sometimes, like you'll like think like, oh, I don't want to sign. I'm not going to sign for this internship. I'm not good enough for this. But do it. Just sign up for it, because the worst they can say is no. So take every chance that you can. Like sign up all over the place. Just go sign up. If they get back to you, that's great. If they don't get back to you, oh well, you signed up somewhere else.
Yeah. Don't hold yourself back.
another thing you get from even just applying for, say, an internship is the experience of being in the interview room, knowing what it's like. When my first interview, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was nervous as hell, and after I got through that, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. And the second interview I had after that, it was really chill, and I sort of knew like what to say. Like it all just came out easier. So.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with interviews is the more you do, the funner they get. And they may sound, crazy, but I mean, after the first couple, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go in there, be myself, be honest, and, have an awesome conversation with guys who care about what I care about. You guys have questions? Ask me anything.
I have a question. Have any of you done research with professors?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's what my internship was. Do you mean professors here?
I'm at here, yeah, but
I mean,
anywhere.
yeah, I mean, I worked with Professor David Evans, but like, you have like tiers of universities. So like, we're at a tier 3 university, where it's mostly teaching and not a lot of research, and then you have like 50-50 in the end, more the other way, where it's mostly research and a little bit on the teaching side, and that's where the TAs are teaching most of the classes. So here you're not going to get like the research opportunities you would at like the University of Virginia or MIT or Carnegie Mellon. But at the same time, it's really possible, and I think, not to undermine the work I personally did over the summer, but it's really easy to get published. Like, it's absurd. Like, some of the quality control, I think, needs to be stepped up at some of these conferences, if I might say so. It's maybe audacious a little bit, but anyways, yeah. So if you talk to a professor, they're really passionate about what they do. Like Prem, he's doing several independent studies right now for computer forensics, which isn't even taught at this school, to my knowledge. And so, like, Dr. Andrew Ray, me and Joel were actually interested in doing an independent study with him about a game engine and stuff like that. So if you're interested, talk with them. And
Yeah, I was just wondering what a good way to approach them would be. Like, you just walk up and say, hey, I want to do research. Or...
Well, hey, so I did research with Dr. Chase and Dr. Pickus on the
DLI.
yeah, peer online instructor. So, that was a good experience. Dr. Ray also does iPhone development.
And he's doing something with 3D, something with, because he's got like a lab set up downstairs with a 3D TV.
Yeah, he's doing virtual simulations.
Well, Tech has a virtual reality room. He actually is the one who manned that when he went to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
He helped work on that pretty big.
So yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. Like different professors will have sort of different specialties. So you just sort of have to approach them and say like, hey, I'm really interested in X. Can you sort of like help me along? Like, is there anything that you would want to do with me concerning X? Is there anything that you're doing?
I think, so you asked how to approach them. I think the biggest thing is, like, if you take the senior seminar, it's a lot about, like, researching the place you want to apply for before you apply for it. And I think it's good, like, so if you want to do an independent study on virtual simulation, you look up Andrew Ray, and you see he's done this for Virginia Tech, and you send him an email, hey, I'm an iTech student, I'm kind of interested in, what you worked on at Virginia Tech, can we meet up for lunch one day? Or can I come by your office hour? And then just go in there and treat it like an interview, but be chill, and just talk to him and be like, yeah, I'm really interested in this, we can work out something, blah, blah, blah. And just really approaching from that heavy negotiation stuff.
Yeah, and if you just want to know your options, like what do professors do? I mean, you could always knock on a professor's door. I mean, they all know each other. Say, what research is going on right now? What do you guys need help with? I know Dr. Lee has done wireless sensor networks in the past. Dr. Tay did things with artificial intelligence. And, they're really interested in all these things. And you just talk to them about it. Even if just you are interested in something and you really want to pursue it, you can talk to, there's a lot of professors who will back you up if you want to, research a specific thing and you want credit for it. You could do an independent study and say, hey, we back you on this. And they'll watch you make sure you're actually using that time. But you could pretty much do whatever you want.
Did you have any sort of topics in mind?
Not specifically. I'm kind of interested in like human interface devices.
You should talk to Chase.
Dr. Chase majored in human-computer interaction.
Whatever you say, don't say user-friendly.
Oh, I know. We no one even said anything, and he just started going off on a rant about that.
Yeah.
Or you can ask me, and I can ask about it. You can ask me. Yeah.
So what iTech classes benefited you the most in your internships?
For what concentration?
CS.
Software engineering, I would say, is probably like the most beneficial class you can take here. I say that, but it's really, I didn't like the classes that much, to be honest, but the things that you learn in that class really help you get an internship, because it teaches you a lot of the things that are used in the real world. Like if you can say like, oh, I know what the waterfall process is, I know what agile development is, like those things really impress employers. Like they look at it like, oh, this person already has experience in these fields, this puts them like a step above. So I would really say like, just at least take software engineering one, it's pretty good.
I would agree with that for like real world jobs. For academia, I would say I take 420 because it's the hardest class we have.
I just,
I know you do. But it's like the hardest class.
I don't think it's the hardest, I just don't think, as far as comes to finding an internship, that's going to be the bulk of what you're going to be concerned about.
Right, but in terms of the most, do you mean the most beneficial in terms of getting an internship?
Like at your internship.
Oh, yeah, software engineering. Yeah, I would withdraw that. Just personally, I think 420 was the best class taught here ever.
I sort of disagree with the software engineering. I do think software engineering is a good course. In terms of getting an internship, I would say Java 3 would be pretty strong, mainly because of like all of the programming models involved.
Design patterns?
Yeah, the design patterns. Know those. Interviewers love to hear design patterns, but they don't love to, if you don't know what they are. Know what they are and know their names.
Yeah, and that may seem really foreign to most of you guys right now.
When you come across it,
Pay attention.
That and then
Algorithms.
algorithms. When I was in my first interview, one of the questions that I was asked was up on the whiteboard, implement Fibonacci. It was Fibonacci. It was that, and I did it recursively. And he was like, "Well, what's wrong with that?" I was like, "Well, I'm doing it recursively. That's going to take tons of time." He was like, "Well, how do you fix that?" And I was like, "Well, you can memorize it." And that was the first time my now boss had ever heard analyzing news. And so, if y'all know analyzing it's so far.
So we're speaking Greek.
You know, I would say it's an optional class that only happens, what's the history I know, it's C++. It was 1 credit. It really helped me because,
I think it's happening a lot more often now. Shane teaches it probably every semester.
oh, the C and Unix.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, I
like,
see.
Dr. Ray did C++, and it was really like in-depth, like, you know, the differences between Java and C++, and that helps me a lot because, you know, when I started work, I was doing Python, and that's nothing like Java, and really it's nothing like C++, but the concepts for both those languages kind of made it easier to pick up the concepts of Python. Like, it was really easy to pick up Python. And you know, I've had to do a little Ruby too, and like, that's like Python and C++ mixed together, a little bit of Perl on top. Yeah, so, you know, learning another language, like, if those classes arise, like Ada helps a lot. It may not seem that way, but you have to think at a lot lower level. So you learn how things fundamentally work.
I think computer organization is a little bit better for that task. So you weren't smart
Well,
assembly.
like, it does give you a fuller picture.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have that picture.
Well, it's just sort of nice because it just gives you a different vantage point from how to do
Yeah.
problems. Because like with Java, it's object oriented, so you make like a car object, or with Ada, like it's different.
I think the biggest thing to take away from that though is we have a lot of good courses in the CS department, all geared towards helping you succeed.
You know what helped me a lot? I didn't think about this as a CS class. Every once in a while we have a game development class. That really taught me like communication issues are going to be the problem in every problem you have.
So yeah, that was like a software engineering class on steroids.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they're ever, like I think Dr. Chase said I should think about starting those up again. Like if there's a game development class, like not the 109 one, like it'll be like a 493, like this number.
Wouldn't that be the last time you can teach it before they make it formal? Before they're forced to make it formal if they ever want to teach it again?
Well, they're trying to make it formal, or at least last year is the last I heard of that. They're trying to form the game development certificate. But yeah, like the whole class had to make one game. So you learn how to deal with all these people on one team. And all the pitfalls that come with that.
Yes, it was intense.
Yeah, very intense.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Anything popping else heads you want to add now? Or?
Should we go to ibm.com/extremeblue and sign up?
Rackertalent.com?
Shameless plugs.
What, UVA.edu?
It's Virginia, not the
Oh.
cs.virginia.edu/.
Rackertalent's easier.
Extreme Blue, right? That's Extreme Blue. IBM Blue, just put Extreme.
Intern program or what?
Yeah, it's their sort of premier internship.
You know, all these, a lot of companies have internships. I mean, like Google, Microsoft, IBM. I mean, they're big companies and they're taking Radford students. He's not the first to have had an internship at IBM. You know, don't be intimidated by how big the company is.
Yeah.
Because if they're a big company, they just need more interns.
Exactly.
So apply anyway. Not no reason.
Put your name on it. Don't be afraid.
Actually, one thing that we didn't mention, since we've basically just been talking about things at school to get an internship, networking. Find out about events. I went to a couple of talks at Rackspace and the programming competition that they held last year, and I think that probably helped me more than anything the internship was. And when I was there, I asked questions like, "Oh, how does y'all's system work? How does it all communicate?" And I was able to use that in the interview process and sort of direct. One thing that they're trying to find out in the interview process is where can they place you in the company. So if you sort of know where you want to go in the company already, that just makes it that much easier for them to want to hire you.
Yeah, networking is a big point that we should hit because, I mean, I'm at my manager conference for the business club last year. And, you know, there's what's his name? It's Bradford Blacksburg Technology Council. I'm trying to inform the club of everything they're doing. They have Technitos. They're a little early, they're 7 in the morning. That's so people who work 9 to 5 can make it to these things. I've been to a couple of those. Those are great places to meet local professionals, and they're all technical professionals. So you have CEOs of these things, and you can just sit with them at a table and talk to them. It's not only let me get my name out there. Let me do a bunch of shameless plugs. You really get to know these guys, and if you want to work there, and they get to know you, and they want you to work there. So
that's where the sincerity comes in, though, because it's like, and it's mutual. Because if I go down to this connecting post thing, or any sort of like networking session like that, they're going to instantly discern with me if I'm blowing smoke up their butt, or
right.
or vice versa. If they're just sitting out there and they're being their typical PR wall of smiles and hair plugs, then I'm going to see through that. And I think don't kid yourself with that, and find someone who's really genuine. Find that mutual fit. I think people talk about it, and when you sit through the senior seminar, it's like, well, that seems like an idealistic world, but really try to find that mutual fit, and I think that you have.
Well, the great thing about like tech and toast, first off, like no students want to get up that early. So if you go, it'll be one of the few, and they want to talk to students. But also, it's really casual. It's not about like nobody's there trying to pitch their company. That's not how it works. So really, you sit down, you have breakfast with these guys. It's really casual, and then there's a seminar about something awesome. I went to one about leadership and how to hire the right people. I learned a lot about where I should go in the industry from that. So, there's a lot of things going on. Of course, the ACM chapter, we try to do as best we can to keep you guys informed, because it's really hard. There's a lot of different channels of information to find all that stuff out.
Did you get that email about volunteers that were needed for the tech talk?
No, they didn't.
Do you know if Rackspace was giving a public tech talk?
Rackspace is actually, there's 2 public tech talks that are happening this semester. One's in the middle of November, and one's in the beginning of December. I found out about those, and I will definitely let everybody know about those. Cool. So any questions? No networking questions?
How far along were y'all in y'all's like classes and stuff before you got internships?
I was a junior. I had Java 3 already. I went through Ada. I was in computers. I had the algorithms class, so I was sort of going through the algorithms class at that point. That'd probably be the biggest high-tech course that I was in at that time. But honestly, I think I could have got the internship a little bit earlier than that.
I had one technically right out of high school for about 6 months, and I came here. In my recent one, I had taken all 3 weeks.
Yeah, that was more or less same as Andrew, sort of like algorithms, software engineering, what I have in my belt.
And like Dr. Vita said, the girl who got a job at CCS in Christiansburg, she only did 120. And she was phenomenal. So, don't let it intimidate you if you don't feel like you're taking the classes. That just means you'll learn that much more in the internship.
I think probably it's more about like how far you personally are along. Like, I feel like there's a maturity you develop with your field. Like I think when I came to the school, definitely people would say I was very arrogant and stuff like that. Probably I still carry that notion around with me. But after doing my internship, after going through like 420 and seeing the professors and seeing how well, like how vast their knowledge is, it's definitely a humbling experience, and I think you get that personal growth and maturity through it. So I think it's more about how far along you are with that rather than how far along you are with classes. Because we live in a time of information. If you want to know how to do a finite state automata, you can Google that.
Yeah.
So that's trivial. What's not trivial is the networking, the communication, the respect for what you're doing, and I think that's a completely different problem.
I agree. Because the reason I came to RAP wasn't because I couldn't figure out technical.
It was good.
I actually have a plan.
Yeah.
Like
See ya.
terrible.
What time are you gonna